If you're looking for the latest stories on everything movies, TV, and music, you've tuned in to the right program. Ahead, we've got an Irish roundup from Aidan Hall, one of Olivia McClellan's guilty pleasures revealed, an explanation of some more movie magic from Isaac Whatley, and much more.
There's no need to adjust your set because from the campus of Ball State University, The Real Deal starts now.
Hello and welcome to The Real Deal, Ball State's one and only entertainment news show. I'm Kaylee Russell.
And I'm Connor Fack. In a 24-hour world where media never seems to take a break, more noteworthy entertainment news is constantly breaking.
So here with the latest scoop hot off the presses is Lydia Lucas with this week's Hollywood headlines. Lydia?
Divergent finally hit the big screens this past weekend, and true to the hype, it came in at #1 at the box office with a total of $56 million by the end of the weekend. On Friday, it earned an estimated $22.8 million, which is the largest single-day amount since the Lego Movie. In 2011, the hit book series joined the recently popular genre of sci-fi dystopian young adult fiction, along with massive hits like The Hunger Games. The sequel to the first installment, Insurgent, is tentatively set for a March 2015 release. In the music world, we have been seeing a bigger and more diverse pool of musicians, and this has resulted in increasingly stranger and more extravagant ways to break free of the mold and get noticed. This weekend, the Black Keys pulled an interesting stunt when announcing their new album. Firstly, they announced the album titled Turn Blue on Mike Tyson's Twitter for some reason. The tweet simply stated Turn Blue with a link to a YouTube video. The video opens with a spiral pattern spinning turntable, followed by a creepy hypnotist who says some weird stuff, has himself a maniacal little laugh at the end, and then the whole thing ends with a call to action screen in the style of 20th century infomercials. This ad may be strange, but it certainly has the attention of music fans. Turn Blue is out May 13th. And finally, this past week kicked off this year's Paley Fest, a 2-week-long event put on by the Paley Center for Media, featuring panels of the cast and creators of your favorite television shows. So far, questions have already been answered from the people behind Parks and Rec, Mad Men, and The Vampire Diaries, to name a few. The Parks and Rec crew have fans excited for this coming season finale. Amy Poehler has promised it is the biggest yet. The cast of Mad Men were notoriously tight-lipped about any and all teasers for the end of the series, but rest assured, everyone is sad to see it go. This coming week, we'll see panels for Masters of Sex, Community, and American Horror Story, among others. This has been Hollywood Headlines. I'm Lydia Lucas.
Thank you, Lydia. I'm happy for Divergent, but who would have figured that a supernatural teenage romance film would have trouble beating out a film about plastic bricks, even if the lead of the Lego brick film is a pretty neat guy.
Actually, he's been making quite a splash in a lot of movies lately. To share just who we mean, here's Ryan Miller with the Actor Spotlight. Ryan?
In today's Spotlight, I'm highlighting the up-and-coming actor Chris Pratt. This lovable yet inspiring actor has made a few big appearances in his career and will likely star in future films and shows as well. His most notable character, of course, is Andy from Parks and Recreation on NBC. Pratt considers that his character, Andy, is one of the closest roles to his actual persona, but smarter, of course. His fun-loving antics come from his simple lifestyle growing up in Washington State.
Are you saying yes?
He probably shares this lifestyle with his wife, who is none other than Anna Faris, who is also from Washington herself. What are the odds? Besides starring as the lovable Andy in Parks and Recreation, he has some notable roles in some pretty big films as well. 3 movies were even Oscar contenders, which were Moneyball, where he played Scott Hatterberg, Zero Dark 30 as Justin Ordevgru, and Her, in which he played the character Paul. Knowing that you've been in a movie that has been an Oscar contender is a pretty big deal, but his biggest roles are yet to come. He has also voiced over as the protagonist in Warner Brothers' newest animation, The Lego Movie, as Emmett. He is set to play a character in the new and upcoming Jurassic World, the newest installment in the Jurassic Park franchise. He is also set to appear as the lead role in Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, as Peter Quill, aka Star-Lord. Personally, I love seeing Chris Pratt and stuff. He has a great charisma about him, and I love the roles he plays. Did I mention that it's also rumored that he is to star in the new Knight Rider? Although it's only a rumor, I would love to see Pratt take on the role of Michael Knight. I highly recommend keeping your eyes open for Chris Pratt in future roles here, folks. That's all the time I have for Actor Spotlight. I'm Ryan Miller.
Thank you, Ryan. My high school choir teacher was Chris Pratt. I just can't believe how far he's come.
I doubt he's the same guy, Connor.
Really? Oh. Never mind then, and kudos to an awesome career, non-teacher Chris Pratt.
And we've got more awesome segments coming up right after this break.
You won't want to miss Aidan Hall counting down a 5-leaf clover, Isaac Whatley bringing special effects down to earth, and more, all after this.
You know the truth, so why do you hate him? It's a very simple question. Why do you hate God?
God's not dead, he's surely alive.
We've ripped a hole in the space-time continuum.
Drop the saber and step away from the futuristic orb.
I take orders from no man.
Take it easy, bro. DreamWorks, Mr. Peabody and Sherman.
CIA.
Interpol.
This is my travel badge. Here's my real badge.
You must have been looking at the wrong badge.
You were saying?
Muppets, Most Wanted.
Sigma!
If you want to survive, follow me.
Divergents threaten the system. It won't be safe until they're removed. We have to fight back.
Ready?
Welcome back. Even though St. Paddy's Day has come and gone, it's hard to suppress that fighting Irish spirit in, well, everyone these days apparently, whether you're actually Irish or not.
So even though we all know it's not easy being green, here's Aidan Hall with his top 5 Blarney films.
With the hangovers of St. Paddy's Day still ringing in our heads, what better way to sober up than to highlight the top 5 films from the Emerald Isles, where there's spuds galore. So sit back and picture the bubbling brooks and the rolling meadows, because the top 5 starts now. Number 5, P.S. I Love You. While a heavy chick flick, featuring 300's own spray-on abs Gerard Butler, this film enraptures us with not only schnazzy accents, but also the beauty that is Ireland. While a love story in nature, this film pulls on your heartstrings, and if you watch it, who knows, you might win brownie points with your girlfriend. Number 4, Leprechaun. While not in Ireland, a movie that everyone should see is Leprechaun. When a young Jennifer Aniston steals a leprechaun's gold, he hunts her down and her friends and family and kills them. This B-movie spawned several sequels, including Leprechaun Back to the Hood and my personal favorite, Leprechaun in Space. So if you're looking for a cheap gimmick of a film, look no further than Leprechaun. Number 3, The Secret of Kells. This animated delight stars the likes of Brandon Gleeson and Evan McGuire, and it tells the story of the creation of the Book of Kells. The animation is highly stylized and shapes this otherwise bland tale into a great animated epic. Number 2, Leap Year. Another interesting Irish fare is Leap Year. The film talks about a woman that aims to propose to her boyfriend on a leap day, so he has to accept it. However, in true romantic fare, this movie isn't what it seems to be. With healthy comedy and a healthier love story, Leap Year does not disappoint. And at number 1, a true gem of dark comedy, The Guard. Brandon Gleeson plays a drug-using, prostitute-hiring cop in a small Irish town that has to take care of a group of eccentric drug dealers, with the help of an American FBI agent played by the Iron Patriot himself, Don Cheadle. The film is incredibly funny and you'll be laughing from start to finish. And there you have it, dear viewers. It's good to be back at my one true home. And remember, the Emerald Isles are always a land of love, happiness, and good films. I'm Aidan Hall, and this has been the Top 5.
Thanks, Aidan. Even though your selected films do prove that the fighting Irish have a softer side, I still feel lucky that I live in a country where drinking, being loud, and generally making a scene is condoned for a day no matter what your nationality.
Of course, if you're the subjects of our next segment, even you don't need a special day.
You can catch me cuddle up in my bed every Sunday night tuning into the crazy lives of the Kardashian family. Keeping Up with the Kardashians has been my go-to guilty pleasure since it came out in 2007, and I wouldn't change that for a bit. Season 9 has already been filled with so much drama, and I can't stop from wanting more. From Kim's surprise engagement to Khloe's traumatic divorce to Lamar Odom, this season has been the most intense yet. In case you haven't been keeping up, no pun intended, the Kardashian family has gone through a lot this past season. Kris and Bruce Jenner announced their split after 22 years of marriage in October. Kris and Bruce have said they have been getting along much better after the separation, and they still talk and see each other often. Kris said they will always be close friends. Kris and Bruce's daughter Kendall Jenner has gone from reality star to model in an attempt to forge her own career amid the buzz of her Keeping Up with the Kardashians fame. The 18-year-old walked the Fashion Week runway in New York, London, and Paris this year and is working very hard to make it in the tough industry. Kanye West surprised Kim in October by swooping into San Francisco and proposing to her on her 33rd birthday. He popped the question to the mother of his child at AT&T Park, which was rented out for the Kardashians' big day. Moving on to Khloe Kardashian and her hard time with husband Lamar Odom. Khloe had been having problems with Lamar for quite some time due to his drug use. Khloe announced her divorce to Lamar in December, but the couple is still trying to work things out. Who knows whether things will sort out between the two or not. Yes, the Kardashians became famous for being rich and living a lavish lifestyle, but we can all somehow relate to the things they face. They are a loving family who are all living through the various ups and downs of life. We can learn from their experiences, and it is nice to know that even people who are crazy famous and who seem to have the perfect life go through the same things we do. This just goes to show that having money can't make you happy. It can't make all your problems go away, and it doesn't make everything perfect. What does make this family happy is the relationship they have with one another. They love each other unconditionally through everything, and this is something I absolutely love. Because of this, I will continue to tune into the show for as long as it keeps playing. And if you haven't watched the show, I highly recommend you give it a chance. You could learn a little about life, like I did. I'm Olivia McClellan, and this has been My Guilty Pleasure.
Thanks, Olivia. It's comforting to know that the Kardashians may not be as bad as the media makes them out to be.
And the rest of the show isn't going to be too shabby either. Still ahead, we've got Isaac Whatley breaking down some technical wizardry, Michael Mathis hauling a favorite film out of the vault, and more. Stay tuned. Glad you stuck around. As usual, filmmakers have been up to their usual tricks of the trade to fool audiences into believing in visuals that oftentimes aren't there.
To explain just how they pull it off, here's Isaac Whatley with another installment of our segment, How'd They Do That? Isaac?
The world of film has most definitely changed over the years, and audiences now demand not only a good story, but also a visual that brings that story to life. The film industry never ceases to amaze, however, as it constantly brings new energy and excitement to the screen through the use of special effects. Producers and animators can use a seemingly endless amount of special effects to build an incredible film, but one that is truly amazing and has become quite popular over the past decade is motion capture. Motion capture allows directors to record the movements of an actor or actress in a studio and then apply those movements to a computer-generated model in post-production. This essentially produces a creative animated character that has incredible detail and movement, yet maintains the fresh talent of an actor. Some of the most famous examples of this technique are films such as The Polar Express and more recently Avatar. While there are a few different ways to go about the capturing process, one used often is an optical motion capture system. How it works is each actor is covered with markers or capture points located at key positions such as on the elbow or on other joints. These markers, often being very small LEDs, can be placed on a bodysuit that the actor wears and are then picked up or located by a series of cameras set up at various points around the studio. The cameras have settings to detect only the light emitted by the LEDs. With the movement of these markers being recorded, this information is then brought to computers where software is used to apply the motions of the actors to those of an animated model. For example, when the LED markers on an actor's knee and ankle are detected as moving forward or backward, that same motion is applied to the knee and ankle of the animated model. This effect is unique in the sense that it can construct an entirely new character from the movements of a person. Now, in films like The Polar Express, the effect was simply used to make detailed animated humans, but in other films, this technique is taken even further by using computer models that aren't even human at all. For example, in The Lord of the Rings, the character Smeagol looks far from human, yet moves around the screen with the same smoothness and realism as live actors. This is because the animators built a computer model that was not designed to look like an ordinary person, but were still able to use the movement and actual person to keep the character looking natural. The use of motion capture gives all the creative minds in Hollywood the tools they need to keep the imagination flowing and audiences impressed. It's great to see how far the industry has come, and I can't wait to see what else the future holds for special effects.
Thanks, Isaac. They told me I could be anything I wanted, and with motion capture, I really can.
What would you want to be that requires motion capture?
Oh, I don't know, a gorilla, a dragon, a friendly tree. The possibilities are endless when you can just animate over people.
True. Of course, the animation possibilities get even more zany when you're just animating over empty space. And one of the films that utilized animation in the real world the best just happens to be the subject of our next segment, Out of the Vault. Here's Michael Mathis with what he dug up. Michael?
With today's segment, we're going to go into the vault and talk about a movie that seems ancient in my eyes, but yet a classic. We all have those movies that we totally forget about until we stumble upon them out of nowhere. They can bring a flood of emotions and make us remember when we watched them when we were younger. The movie that stood out to me the most was probably Robert Zemeckis' movie Who Framed Roger Rabbit. In Who Framed Roger Rabbit, animated characters and humans coexist in a fictional 1940s Los Angeles. When one of the toons, Roger Rabbit, played by Charles Fleischer, is framed for murder, he turns to the human detective, Eddie Valiant, played by Bob Hoskins, for help. What ensues a colorful, action-packed ride through a world that, like no other film noir, crossed with vintage Looney Tunes. I think what really caught my eye with this movie is the fact that this was the first movie I have ever witnessed where animations are actually interacting with people. When I saw it when I was around 10, it blew my mind. The audience gets the chance to see animated characters such as Disney and Looney Tunes characters act together in a way we have never seen before. An interesting fact behind that is Warner Brothers would only allow the use of their tunes if they got the same screen time as Disney tunes. This led to Mickey Mouse and Bugs Bunny appearing on screen together. Additionally, they had the same amount of lines and they were on screen for exactly the amount of time, down to the frames. Overall, I believe that Robert Zemeckis' film, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, will always be a classic in my eyes. This movie was able to mix traditional animation with some of the state-of-the-art, at the time, techniques. The film is still a visual marvel, but also has a sterling, smart script as much for noir fans as animation buffs. It's crazy that this film will turn 30 years old in 4 years, but will never get old in my book. This has been From the Vault. I'm Michael Mathis. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Michael. Roger Rabbit will always have a special place in my heart, both as a film and as a dance move.
I'm not even going to ask.
And nor do you have to ask about the end of the program, because Kaylee and I will round things out with our final word right after this. Don't go away.
I'm gonna destroy them.
Once social change begins, it can't be reversed. You can't humiliate someone who has pride, and you can't oppress someone who's not afraid anymore.
That's the end of everything.
Beginning. Beginning of everything.
Thanks for staying with us. Spring is finally here, which means music festivals are only a season away.
Lineups for festivals all over the country are just being announced, so Kaylee and I thought that we'd give you our take on which festival anywhere that we would like to attend. This is our final word.
To start, I must sadly admit that I've never attended a big-time music festival. And although I won't be going, I will say that Governor's Ball's lineup looks pretty impressive this year. The Governor's Ball Music Festival is in New York City and was created in 2011. This year, it will be held from June 6th to the 8th. Some of my favorite bands will be performing, like Vampire Weekend, The Strokes, Foster the People, Jack White, and La Rue. The two bands that I would love to see are The Strokes and Vampire Weekend. I've been a longtime fan of The Strokes, but have unfortunately never seen them live. I know most of their songs by heart, so it would be such a great experience to sing along with them in the crowd. And 2 summers ago, I saw Vampire Weekend in concert in Indianapolis, which was amazing. They released their new album, Modern Vampires of the City, last May, and it's become one of my favorite albums to listen to. The band definitely knows how to work a crowd on stage, and I would love to see them again. As I said before, I will not be attending the Governor's Ball Music Festival because I will be in Europe that month. However, if you're interested in attending or learning more about this music festival, Visit their website at www.govball.com. General admission for 3 days is $230, and they have payment plans available. Happy listening.
Well, that sounds like a very good choice, Kaylee.
Thanks, Connor. And which music festival would you like to attend?
Well, I'll be the first to admit that I'm notoriously bad at keeping up with the music scene. Any of them, indie, electronica, what have you. Thanks to various internet radio stations, I'm getting a little bit better, but you're still more likely to find me listening to a playlist of 1960s French pop, classic rockabilly, or something performed by people who are, not around anymore. But in my recent forays into modern culture, one of the genres that I find myself liking more and more is folk, or just folk rock, leaning more to that side. I don't know what it is, but there's something deeply calming about it to me. Folk still has plenty of sorrow and angst in its soul, but is overall much more pensive and wholesome than something more in your face like grunge or screamo. And as it turns out, if you like folk music, the go-to event is the Newport Folk Festival, held annually in Newport, Rhode Island since 1959. It's had some pretty big acts over the years, like Bob Dylan, Pete Seeger, Johnny Cash, the Decemberists, and Old Crow Medicine Show, and 2014 looks no different. I only wish I knew who anybody on the lineup was. I did take a look at some of the act descriptions of the festival's webpage, and ones that look interesting include the Milk Carton Kids, 2 guys with guitars, Houndmouth, 3 guys and a girl in a band, and Jenny Lewis, a young singer-songwriter. But honestly, most of the lineup looks pretty cool. So even though I don't know any of the acts yet, I would still definitely go. After all, if you really want to get to know a genre of music, what better way is there than to immerse yourself in a 3-day-long smorgasbord of the best talent in that genre? So if you're already a knowledgeable folk fan, or just someone like me, ignorant but interested, one of the best places you could hope to start is at the Newport Folk Festival, coming this July.
And that wraps up this week. That wraps up the show for this week. Be sure to check out our website, Facebook, and Twitter pages for news and updates on all things entertainment. I'm Kaylee Russell.
And I'm Connor Fack. We'll see you next time.